The World Cup is here, but Newcastle are still moving in the transfer market. So from revealing Newcastle's £39 million potential new signing better than Munoz, to Newcastle United being offered an exciting winger, to Newcastle officially announcing a massive agreement, to a Fabrizio Romano here we go as a deal is done. But it's not Newcastle doing the signing. As per, join us as we'll break it all down and discuss the latest Newcastle United transfer news.
Let's go!
So starting off, Newcastle United's search for a winger to replace Anthony Gordon has become one of the defining stories of their summer, and after missing out on Victor Munoz to Liverpool, attention appears to be shifting towards Porto youngster William Gomez. The 20-year-old Brazilian has emerged as a serious option after reports in Italy suggested Newcastle are among several clubs monitoring his situation. While Porto inserted a hefty €80 million release clause into his contract, it is believed they would be willing to negotiate at around €45 million, or £39 million, a figure that places him firmly within Newcastle's reach. Unlike Munoz, who was viewed as a direct replacement for Gordon on the left wing, Gomez offers something slightly different. The Brazilian primarily operates from the right flank and is a more natural goal scorer than creator at this stage of his development. Newcastle's right-wing options struggled badly throughout the 2025-26 campaign, with Anthony Elanga and Jacob Murphy failing to consistently provide end product, so there is a clear argument that strengthening that side of the attack is just as important as replacing Gordon. What makes Gomez particularly intriguing is his efficiency. Despite starting only 9 league matches for Porto last season, he still managed 8 goals and 1 assist. Those numbers compare favorably with Munoz, who recorded 6 goals and 2 assists, despite playing significantly more minutes in La Liga. The statistics suggest Gomez has a natural instinct for finding goals, something Newcastle lacked throughout much of last season. With Alexander Isak gone and Gordon sold to Barcelona, Eddie Howe desperately needs more attacking output from wide areas. There are still obvious risks. Gomez remains relatively inexperienced at senior level and is far from the finished article. His overall involvement in games is lower than Munoz's, while his passing and dribbling numbers suggest he still has plenty of development ahead of him. However, that may actually suit Newcastle's current model. The club have enjoyed success identifying talented young players before they fully explode onto the European stage, and Gomez fits that profile perfectly. His physical style, willingness to attack defenders and eye for goal make him an exciting long-term project. The bigger challenge may not be convincing Porto to sell, but beating other clubs to his signature. Reports indicate Juventus, Roma, Arsenal and Manchester United have all tracked him, although some of those clubs appear focused on alternative targets. That potentially leaves Newcastle with a clearer path than they had with Munoz, where Liverpool's late intervention completely changed the landscape. For now, William Gomez feels more like a developing opportunity than an advanced negotiation. Yet after the frustration of losing Munoz at the final hurdle, Newcastle supporters may welcome the idea of pursuing a player who arguably addresses another major weakness in the squad. If Ross Wilson and Eddie Howe believe Gomez can translate his goal-scoring instincts to the Premier League, then £39 million could eventually look like excellent value. And unlike the Munoz saga, Newcastle will be hoping this is one transfer story that ends with the player actually arriving at St James's Park, rather than posing in another club's shirt. Then, in another development, Newcastle United have reportedly been offered the opportunity to sign highly rated Bosnian winger Kerim Alajbegovic, as the club continues its search for attacking reinforcements following Anthony Gordon's departure to Barcelona. The 18-year-old is regarded as one of the more exciting young talents emerging from European football and is already attracting attention from several clubs. Reports suggest Aston Villa, Arsenal, Leeds United, and a number of Serie A sides are all monitoring his development. Alajbegovic has also gained valuable international experience this summer, featuring twice for Bosnia at the World Cup. He made a substitute appearance in the draw against Canada before playing the full match in Bosnia's defeat to Switzerland. Despite the growing interest, Newcastle do not appear to be preparing an immediate move. The reports indicate that while the player has been offered to the Magpies, Ross Wilson and the recruitment team are currently prioritizing other targets. That stance makes sense given the club's urgent need to replace Anthony Gordon with a player capable of making an immediate impact. At the moment, Newcastle's focus appears to remain on players such as Said El Mala, whom is viewed as a more advanced option in terms of first-team readiness. Alaj Begovic, by contrast, looks more like a long-term development signing. That does not diminish his potential. In fact, the level of interest surrounding him suggests many clubs believe he could become a top-level player in the coming years. However, Newcastle's current situation may require a slightly different profile. Following Gordon's sale and a disappointing league campaign, Eddie Howe needs players who can contribute immediately, rather than prospects who may need several seasons to reach their peak. The wider concern for Newcastle supporters is Liverpool's reported interest in several of the same targets. After losing Victor Munoz to Liverpool despite appearing to be in a strong position for much of the negotiations, there is understandable nervousness whenever the two clubs are linked with the same player. Whether Liverpool genuinely pursue El Mala remains to be seen, but Newcastle will be keen to avoid another transfer saga ending in disappointment. As for Said El Mala, the situation remains complicated. Reports have suggested that any deal could involve demands surrounding his older brother, Malik El Mala. While some clubs may be willing to accommodate such requests, Newcastle have generally tried to avoid making signings based on conditions unrelated to the player's footballing ability. The club's experience with complicated transfer arrangements in recent years may make them particularly cautious. That is why the emergence of alternatives such as Alaj Begovic is important. Even if Newcastle are not actively pursuing him right now, maintaining a broad shortlist gives the recruitment team flexibility if primary targets become unavailable. Modern transfer windows can change rapidly, and having multiple options often proves crucial. For now, though, Alaj Begovic appears to be more of an opportunity than a priority. The talent is clearly there, and the interest from across Europe suggests he has a bright future ahead of him. Whether that future eventually leads to St. James's Park may depend on how Newcastle's other transfer pursuits unfold over the coming weeks. At this stage, it feels like a name worth remembering rather than a deal that is close to happening. Then moving on, Newcastle United's long-standing interest in Keith Smith appears to be cooling, and if Luke Edwards' information is accurate, the reason is fairly simple. The club are not convinced the player actually wants to move to Tyneside. The Dutch midfielder has been admired by Newcastle for some time. Reports linking the Magpies with the AZ Alkmaar star first emerged towards the end of last year, with suggestions that a January move was being considered before both player and club decided to postpone any major decisions until the summer. Given Smith's reputation as one of the brightest young midfielders in the Netherlands, many expected Newcastle to return with serious interest once the transfer window opened. Instead, things have been unusually quiet. According to Luke Edwards, that silence is not because Newcastle have lost interest in the player. Rather, they have doubts about whether Smith sees St. James Park as his preferred destination. If that assessment is correct, it actually reflects a sensible approach from Newcastle's recruitment team. Over the last couple of transfer windows, Newcastle have repeatedly found themselves investing time and resources into players who ultimately preferred other destinations. The Victor Munoz saga is the most recent example, with everything appearing to be in place before Liverpool swooped in and secured the deal. Rather than repeating that cycle, Newcastle seem determined to identify early whether a player genuinely wants the move. There is little point spending weeks negotiating with clubs, agents, and representatives if the player is already leaning elsewhere. The mention of Liverpool is particularly interesting. Liverpool have built a strong reputation for attracting elite young talent, while their recent transfer success and consistent presence near the top of English football naturally makes them an attractive option for many prospects. If Smith is indeed prioritizing clubs of that profile, Newcastle may simply decide their efforts are better directed elsewhere. That does not mean the situation is completely closed. Transfer windows are unpredictable, and players can change their minds depending on opportunities, playing time guarantees, and the movements of other clubs. However, based on Edwards' information, Newcastle are currently not active in the race. The timing is also notable given the continued uncertainty surrounding Sandro Tonali. Many supporters had started to connect the dots, viewing Smith as a potential replacement should Tonali leave this summer. While the profiles are quite different, Smith's creativity and technical ability would certainly add something unique to Newcastle's midfield options. Yet if Newcastle truly believe the player is unlikely to choose them, there is little value in pursuing that avenue. In many ways, this could be viewed as evidence that Newcastle's recruitment structure is functioning more effectively than in previous years. Ross Wilson and the recruitment team appear increasingly focused on identifying players who not only fit the tactical profile, but are genuinely enthusiastic about joining the project. That may sound obvious, but it is a lesson many clubs learn the hard way. The reality is that Newcastle cannot afford another transfer saga that drags on for weeks only to end in disappointment. If the club have already determined that Keith Smith is not fully sold on the move, stepping away early may be frustrating for supporters, but it is probably the correct decision. For now, it looks like Newcastle will continue exploring other midfield targets, while keeping a respectful distance from a transfer battle they believe they are unlikely to win. Then, Newcastle United have suffered another setback in the transfer market, with highly rated Atalanta defender Marco Palestra now set to join Chelsea. After the disappointment of losing Victor Munoz to Liverpool, despite appearing to have a deal in place, Newcastle have now seen another reported target move towards a Premier League rival. According to Fabrizio Romano, Chelsea have reached a verbal agreement with Atalanta for Palestra in a deal worth more than €55 million plus a sell-on clause. The Italian youngster is expected to sign a long-term contract at Stamford Bridge, bringing an end to any hopes Newcastle may have had of securing his signature. It is easy to understand why Newcastle were interested. Palestra is coming off a remarkable season in Serie A and has rapidly established himself as one of the most exciting young defenders in European football. The 21-year-old enjoyed a breakthrough campaign and earned widespread recognition for his performances. What makes his achievement even more impressive is the context behind it. Palestra spent the season on loan at Cagliari, a side that spent much of the campaign battling near the bottom of the table. Despite playing in a team that regularly came under pressure defensively, he managed to stand out enough to be named Serie A Defender of the Season. That honor is usually dominated by elite centre-backs playing for title contenders. Previous winners include players such as Kalidou Koulibaly, Bremer, Christian Romero, and Alessandro Bastoni. For a young wing-back to win that award in what was effectively his first full senior season is exceptionally rare. The fact that Cagliari conceded one of the highest goal totals in the division only makes his individual recognition more remarkable. It suggests that despite the team's struggles, scouts, coaches, and analysts saw a defender consistently performing at an elite level. For Newcastle, missing out on Palestra will sting. With Kieran Trippier gone and uncertainty surrounding several defensive positions, he would have represented a long-term solution on the right side of defense. His versatility, ability to play as a full-back, wing-back, or even in a back three, would have suited Eddie Howe's system well. Chelsea, however, appear to have won the race. The move also feels like a natural fit. With Xabi Alonso reportedly overseeing a major rebuild, Palestra joins a club willing to invest heavily in elite young talent and give them time to develop. For Newcastle supporters, it is another reminder of how competitive this summer market has become. Losing Munoz to Liverpool was frustrating enough. Seeing Palestra head to Chelsea only reinforces the need for Ross Wilson and Newcastle's recruitment team to move quickly on alternative targets before more opportunities disappear. Then, in some positive news, Newcastle United have officially confirmed Knox Hydrate as their new front-of-shirt sponsor, extending what has rapidly become one of the club's most significant commercial partnerships. The South African hydration brand had already secured naming rights for Newcastle's training ground, which will be known as the Knox from next season. Now, Knox will also feature prominently on the front of the shirts worn by the men's, women's, and academy teams for the next 3 years. The announcement ends weeks of speculation following the expiration of Newcastle's sponsorship agreement with Sailor. With negotiations still ongoing when the new home kit was released, supporters initially had the unusual option of purchasing a sponsorless version of the shirt. Now that the deal has been formally confirmed, Newcastle have released images showing the Knox branding on the kit, while also confirming that supporters who already purchased the shirt without a sponsor can have the logo added later. Speaking after the announcement, Newcastle CEO David Hopkinson described the agreement as a transformative partnership for the club. He praised Knox's ambition and stated that both organizations share a long-term vision for growth and global success. Knox Hydrate CEO John Schaefer echoed those sentiments, saying the company sees the partnership as far more than simple shirt sponsorship. According to Schaefer, Knox views the deal as an investment in the club's future and an opportunity to become embedded within Newcastle United's identity and fan culture. Commercially, the agreement appears to be another major step forward for Newcastle. Combined with the training ground naming rights agreement and other collaborative projects expected between the two organizations, the partnership could become one of the most lucrative sponsorship arrangements in the club's history. From a football perspective, the timing is important too. Newcastle are entering a crucial period following a disappointing 2025-26 campaign and significant squad changes, including Anthony Gordon's move to Barcelona. Securing major commercial revenue streams provides greater financial flexibility as the club looks to rebuild under Eddie Howe. As for the shirt itself, opinions will inevitably differ. Some supporters prefer the clean, sponsorless look and may feel disappointed that future shirts will feature branding across the front. Others, however, believe the NUFC logo actually improves the overall appearance of the home kit by breaking up large sections of black and white and creating a more balanced design. Personally, I can see that argument. The sponsorless version had a very minimalist look, but the NUFC branding seems to fit naturally within the shirt's design rather than overpowering it. In fact, it arguably makes the kit look more complete and gives it a stronger visual identity. With the away and third kit set to launch already featuring the NUFC logo, Newcastle supporters will soon get a better idea of how the new partnership looks across the entire range. If the early images are anything to go by, many fans may end up agreeing that the branding improves the overall aesthetic rather than detracting from it. Then finally, if you would really want to know the latest Newcastle United transfer news, click the video link on screen now.